Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast, spoiler special episode. My name is Martin Harries, your host. On this episode, we are talking plot lines, characters, and all things spoilerific. You have been warned. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Hello, podsters or podroonies. If you prefer, we are back again for another episode of the Film vs. Film podcast for a spoiler special. I know these things are rare these days, but hey-ho. But we're doing a spoiler special on Predator Badlands this time, which is very exciting. Really interesting film in the Predator franchise. And I'm joined by Brian from Reviewing History. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I found it funny that two Arnold movies two movies connected to Arnold Schwarzenegger came out within the same month, because we were actually supposed to do this the other day, and I logged in and you were like, all right, we're doing Predator. I was like, well, I watched the completely wrong movie because I went and watched The Running Man. So I was like, can we have a couple days and we'll come back?
Yeah.
And, I fucked up bad. But my fault. I did get to see an extra movie out of it. So I guess it's not the worst thing. That's hard for me these days. But I went and I did see Predator Badlands for this.
Awesome. Hopefully your opinion of Predator Badlands is better than The Running Man. I've seen The Running Man as well. I don't think I hated it as much as you, but it's not great. And I don't really like doing podcasts where you just rag on a film, but hopefully you liked Predator Badlands more.
I thought it was okay. Real quick before we get on to Badlands, just like because we both saw Running Man, do you think it's Edgar Wright's worst film? Because I do.
I think so, yeah. Then closely followed by The World's End. Yeah, I think you're probably right by that. I don't think it's like terrible or anything, but I think if you're going into it expecting like a really great action film, you will be disappointed. So
that's what happened with me. I was expecting this is the thing about Edgar Wright. Like, even if the film wasn't good, I was still expecting. Like, that didn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie. It felt like anybody could have directed it, which it's like, I'm an Edgar Wright fan. I want to see Edgar Wright stuff, and I didn't get any of that. So, I was really disappointed.
Yeah, I feel like if this film The Running Man just comes up on TV and you're just like, someone tells you that this is an Edgar Wright film, you're like, really? I don't see any Edgar Wright in this. So it's disappointing. I guess hopefully I was on another podcast talking about it, and hopefully this doesn't impact his career too much and he can just go back to maybe a smaller budget where he's given a bit more creative license and have a bit more like constraints with the budget so he can get creative again. I think that's just how a lot of directors work best, but especially Edgar Wright himself. So for this podcast, we are talking Predator Badlands with my guest, Brian. This is your opportunity, Brian, to tell us about your pod and what's coming up over Christmas.
So my podcast is called Reviewing History. We go through historical movies. We tell you what's real and fake in them as we make dick and fart jokes. It's a lot of fun. We go through the movies, the real history, and it's light and fun. We're the sugar that goes with the medicine of the history in your movies. Check that out anywhere you get your pods. It's called Reviewing History. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Reviewing History, where we cover all sorts of movies and video games, and it's a playground for us to talk about whatever we want aside from the main show, because the main show is very constricting. The Patreon lets us do whatever we want, and we always list everything we've done. So if there's anything you want to see us talk about, maybe we've done on the Patreon. But the real reason I'm here is I'm doing my yearly promotion of our big Christmas podcast. Every year we do a big Christmas pod. It's available on bandcamp.com. It drops Black Friday in America, which I believe is November 28th, next Friday, or this Friday. And it's dropping at midnight Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. It's Christmas horror themed. So it's a Christmas pod dedicated to horror. There's games and fun. It's a blast. It's 3 hours of Christmas horror fun. And we also cover Gremlins top to bottom and have a good discussion about it. I highly recommend it. It's a $5 package. If you're not interested in that one, Our first one is called This Ain't No Whack Christmas. Half of the proceeds from that will always go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. If you want to check that out, we have bundles and stuff. This year's is called A Very Shining Christmas. Check that out, bandcamp.com. You can follow us there and you'll get an alert when it drops, or, you could just update anywhere.
Nice. I guess you may be talking about Terrifier 3, possibly. I'm guessing.
It comes up, but it's more games and stuff. So like I get a bunch of you know what we could do one of the games. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
And so basically I'm going to give you 3 Christmas horror movie plots, and you and you tell me which is the real one and which is fake, all right?
Okay.
All right, tell me which is the real plot to this movie. This movie is called Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas. After Santa is turned into a zombie due to smoking weed, Nixon and Hogan must deliver presents to save Christmas. 2. Nixon and Hogan are forced to team up to save an under siege North Pole. 3. Nixon and Hogan must exterminate Christmas ghosts which have taken the form of smoke. And this is for the Christmas horror movie, Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas. Which of those plots is real?
First of all, I can't believe this is a real movie, but sure. I'm going to go the second one, B.
No, it's after Santa is turned into a zombie due to smoking weed, Nixon and Hogan must deliver presents to save Christmas. We'll do one more. This movie is called Ugly Sweater Party. While hosting an ugly sweater party, a fraternity falls victim to a deranged killer in this modern twist on a holiday genre staple. 2. At an ironic ugly sweater party, everyone is wearing the same sweater. The only problem is someone committed a murder in that sweater an hour ago. Who is the killer at this party? 3. An evil ugly sweater possesses a young man and forces him to commit murders while wearing it on Christmas. Which of those plots is real?
C. I'm going C.
You're right, yeah.
Yay!
He's possessed by an evil sweater.
Nice.
So it's all games like that, and there's all sorts of different games. It's 3 hours of games. That's just a little sample.
Cool. I'm happy. I got one right. Right, we're done. See you later, people.
Yep.
Right, we are here to talk about Predator Badlands. So quick plot synopsis for this one, as I always do. Go to IMDb, and it simply says a young Predator outcast from his clan finds an unlikely ally on his journey in search of the ultimate adversary in the Kalisk. So, Brian, initial reactions to this one. What did you make of Predator Badlands, and what's kind of your relationship with sort of the Predator franchise in general? Are you a big fan, or?
I generally like the Predator movies. There's been some that I thought were really bad, like the Shane Black one. Not the first one. The one he directed is pretty terrible. I thought Prey was okay. I didn't see the cartoon they did. I didn't watch that. But I generally like the franchise. I like the idea of the Predator. I'm not too thrilled that... I'm glad this one is in space. I think there's a big problem with the Predator franchise as a whole, where the first one is Arnold and these commandos, and it works. I even like the one where all the killers are kidnapped and brought to that planet to hunt predators. I think that one is really good. That's the Robert Rodriguez one. That's really well done. Yeah. I think you're gonna have a problem though, because I think the next one is set on Earth and it's like gonna be like pirates or something, if I'm correct. But I think you have a problem if you have predators keep coming to Earth throughout like all time, and they keep losing to like people with like sticks and bows and arrows. It really undercuts the first movie in a way and makes it less impressive each time you do that. So I have an issue with that in general. I don't like going back and altering things which mess with the first movie.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I've seen it twice now. Certainly with the Dan Trachtenberg films that he's done, like Prey and Killer of Killers, I think this is my least favorite one, Predator Badlands. I really liked Killer of Killers a lot, mainly because of the animation style and kind of the way like all these predators go into different time periods, and it kind of all links together at the end, which is really fun. I'm really impressed with that, and the action super creative. Prey, again, I really really liked that one, and I think Prey was kind of really needed for this franchise to really kind of bring it back to its roots. Yes, people have criticized Prey, the fact that it feels too similar to the original film in 1987 with Arnie, with a similar structure, but I think that's kind of what kind of fans kind of craved anyway. And it's a similar thing with like the Alien franchise with like Alien Romulus, that this kind of isolated situation with a bunch of characters, and all these characters kind of get picked off. And but what's kind of clever about Prey is obviously it's just set in a different time period, and that was the first time it's kind of that's been done before, I think, in the Predator franchise. So, but with this one, it feels like everything's been turned on its head, kind of thing, and it's set in space, and the main character is Dek, like well, they call him like a runt Utajar, and he's a teenager exiled from his clan, and it's kind of really interesting that way that you kind of follow this, the Predator. I don't agree with kind of things where people are saying, oh, the Predator's the good guy now. I don't think so. It's just from his perspective. He's still a hunter, he's still a killer, so I don't really necessarily agree with some of those criticisms that I've seen on the internet, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I did do a ranking on social media, and this would be my like fourth favorite, I think. After seeing it twice, I would probably stick with that. Oh, it was pretty good. I guess for me, with this franchise, it does feel like this is a franchise that has kind of recovered really well compared to like a lot of other franchises with Dan Trachtenberg's movies. And I think what's kind of interesting is the fact that what Dan Trachtenberg has kind of been really aware of is the fact that he's been able to kind of strip things back in this film, especially. Like Dek like loses all of his weapons and technology as soon as he lands on the ship, and it all kind of goes back to basics, like Prey, like the original film. But obviously with this one, it's kind of just done very differently. We're following the Predator this time, and it just kind of forces Dan Trachtenberg to get creative, with what Dek needs to do in this story, obviously, and to achieve his goals. And initially, it's just trying to survive on this kind of crazy death planet, Jenna. This film is arguably like kind of a buddy comedy movie with Elle Fanning's character as the synth with no legs, and she is basically used, well, in the film he calls her a tool, and just carries her around in a backpack. So even that kind of image right there is kind of sort of a semi-funny image, the fact that he's literally carrying her on his back. I think Elle Fanning's great with kind of the humor as well, and Dek is kind of the straight man in the comedy duo kind of thing. What I kind of like though is they don't really go too hard on the comedy stuff. It's done to a level that works, and it's not going to like alienate too many fans, I would say. I think tonally that is certainly one of my biggest like negatives about the film, that there is kind of this Disney-fication, I guess you could say. And I think part of that is probably because obviously it's is it PG-13 in the US?
Yeah, it's PG-13.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the fact that there are 0 human characters in this. So, and apparently Dan Trachtenberg has said there is kind of the same level of violence in this film if you compare it to Prey, but there's just no blood this time because he's just dismembering synths and monsters. But when in doing that, you have like a little bit of an emotional disconnect for me, and the film kind of lacks a bit of tension and bite sometimes, especially with a lot of the action scenes. I mean, it still looked really cool, and there's plenty of enjoyment to be had here with the action, and it's super creative. But in some senses, it kind of feels like fan fiction as well. They're like, oh, what if it would be really cool if this happens, and blah blah blah, and it feels kind of that kind of tone, if you know what I mean. In terms of the action and stuff and the way it looks, I enjoyed it, but I didn't expect it to be in like a Predator film like this. Like, there's not enough darkness and and grittiness for me. Like story wise, it's definitely very basic, and it definitely feels like a coming of age film in a way, because it's really interesting, like thinking about and seeing kind of the really brutal culture that the Utajar have here, you know, with those opening scenes with his brother basically protecting him and sacrificing him from his dad. You know, his dad is just completely just dismisses him as a runt and a weakness to the clan, and it's like, oh, and doesn't he say to his brother, like, I'm surprised like you didn't kill him in his sleep. And it's like, fuck it, no, that's brutal. So I think it's interesting going for like such a hard.
Why didn't you do it, Dad?
Yeah, it's interesting that they go for like such a brutal sort of emotional opening scene with these characters, and it definitely like gets you on Deck's side is a good way of doing that. But again, because they're kind of alien characters and they're subtitled, there is a little bit of disconnect there. But I kind of admire in a way just the ambition of that you're basically kind of making a film that's essentially a coming of age film about a predator. I guess again, you could argue that the story itself feels like a bit Disneyfied. I think the whole like Wolfpack analogy certainly works for me. The fact that he has to act like a leader, not just a lone, you know, well, the phrase is lone wolf, but yeah. Has to act like an alpha.
Real quick, I just had this thought. Isn't this kind of the story of Deck in this? Isn't it very similar to the story of the protagonist in Prey? I forgot her name, but it is kind of similar, right? Where it's like, you know, the weakest person in the tribe wants to go and get the big hunt to prove themselves. It's like the Predator version of the movie Prey.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with like, I guess the Predator sort of narrative, that they are hunters. So there's not a lot of like story ideas that you can kind of play around with, I don't think, in terms of like trying to mix when you're trying to integrate a story within their culture. So, but yeah, like Amber Midhunter, you know, the protagonist in Prey, like, yeah, she has to prove herself and find her like predator that's trying to kill her to prove herself to her own tribe. So yeah, it's basically the same story. So, but do you know what I mean though? It's like there's not a lot of leeway that you can use within the Predator movies other than that, and they just flipped it on its head with just putting the Predator as the main character.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck with the franchise by design, where they have to be hunting something or they have no other purpose, you know? So when you factor that in, you're always going to have, you know, you're either following the hunter or you're following the hunted.
Yeah.
So I do kind of understand the pickle you're in, but I would like to try to find some sort of deviation, you know, hopefully maybe, because I think they're going to do a sequel to this, because I think it was pretty well reviewed and it made money. So I think they'll continue Deck's story, especially they have the tease at the end with his mother. Yeah. Have we ever seen a female predator?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really interesting to see whether they go down that route, because I feel like you can just leave it there and it would just be a fun tag. I don't think it would be massively dissatisfying if we don't see what happens next. I mean, obviously it'd be great if we can, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go in a different direction as well. So it'll be interesting to find out what happens. Because I feel like the go-to thing with Predator is just like, obviously with Prey, it's in a particular time period, and with Killer of Killers, you know, you've got 3 different time periods in that, like feudal Japan, World War II, and the Viking era. So, I mean, all of those kind of stories in that film were really cool. I fucking love that film. My second favorite Predator film. But I don't want like the Predator films to have sort of that expectation moving forward that like, okay, the next film is going to be set in this time period and then this time period. And then it's just, as you said at the top of the show, Brian, like there's always going to be this thing of just like, why do predators keep coming to Earth when they keep getting killed? You know? So again, like you don't want that kind of expectation going in to a new Predator movie every time, because it would just get a little bit stale. Otherwise, like, the filmmakers and producers are literally just going to go to fucking social media and put polls up and just be like, okay, which time period do you want to see a Predator story now, you know?
Yeah, who wants to watch Abraham Lincoln fight a predator? You know, like
Yeah.
I'd watch that, by the way. But
Yeah.
you know what I think they should do to change things up, and I think it'd be fun. And this is just me kind of where I personally would take the story, because we don't know anything about the Predator Society, right? So
No, not
personally, I
really.
would explore that more in the So I would explore that more in the next one. And I would have his mother shows up, and his mother is like, now that you've killed our father, our clan is going to lose our prestige in this area. And the way it works in Predator Society, when the matriarch of a clan dies, the other
Mm,
clans can come and try to kill the rest of the clan to
yeah.
get like their land or whatever, right? So I would have it the runt predator deck is trying to survive against these other clans that are coming to kill him.
Yeah, so
And
like sort of this power vacuum sort of story where all these clans kind of come together to sort of fight each other, sort of thing.
until he can like establish that, like, he has
Hierarchy.
a hierarchy, and like he's a good patriarch that you can respect, and like the other clans like end up respecting him by the end. And
Yeah.
and then I think you close out his story where like his clan is secure, and maybe you show he's having children in the future or whatever. I don't know. Do predators lay eggs? How do they have kids? I'd love to know these
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Oh, that would be hilarious if predators lay eggs. I don't think so. Probably not. That would look fucking weird, but too close to an exomorph, I suppose.
Yeah.
So like, let's talk about some of the scenes then. Like the opening scenes with like the Predator on the Predator home planet, I thought was quite cool. You know, he's all cloaked and kind of zip wires his way into this cave, and he fights his brother for a bit. That was kind of a really interesting fight. Kind of, it introduces these kind of fire swords that they have, a new thing to the Predator franchise. A really kind of great opening, and obviously gives you a taste of the fact that right from the off that their culture is all about hunting and fighting and being the strongest. And I mean, it didn't really look like play fighting between two brothers. But my only criticism with that is the fact that it was kind of very difficult to tell who was hitting who, because they both got helmets on. They look very similar, so that was a little bit of a criticism for me in that scene in particular. Did you like that kind of fight scene,
Yeah, I
Brian?
think I think in the opening, when you're watching it, you don't know any characters yet. You don't know why they're fighting.
Yeah.
It's just a cold action open where they have almost lightsabers. It's very Star Wars to me. And
Yeah.
it's just like an excuse to have a cold action open. You don't know who you're supposed to root for, what's supposed to happen. And you don't know they're brothers until the end of the fight when he's like, you're still weak, you know?
Yeah.
And I like their dynamic. And I like that the brother feels that he has to protect Deck
Mm.
because Deck saved his life one time years ago, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's probably the strongest element of the story, is the fact, as I said, like the sort of this wolf pack kind of idea that he has to not really kind of fight for like this trophy that he really craves to like prove himself to his father. He kind of needs to prove himself to himself, and that he has to be a leader to the monkey alien and Elle Fanning with no legs.
Yeah.
um so yeah, yes, predictable, but I think that's kind of it works for the film, and I kind of liked how kind of the end fight kind of echoes kind of the beginning as well. I like that idea that his ship is sort of hovering, and all this dust blows up, and he can see his father cloaked. So that kind of helps him defeat him. Even though the cloak thing was the one thing that he craved the most, he uses it sort of against him. So yeah, I think overall, I think that the action is staged really well. It was just that kind of opening that I had a little bit of a problem with. But I don't know about you, Brian, but like a lot of the action scenes feel like they're very heavily influenced by video games these days. Like,
I'm so glad you said that
yeah.
because while watching it, I felt this was I swear to God, this was a thought I had during the movie. I go, this would be a much better video game than movie.
Really?
I'd much
Okay.
rather be playing this. I was like, I'd much rather be playing this as a game than as a movie. I think it'd be more fun to jump around and do these fights and, explore the planet and do that than watch this movie in a story. That's how I watch this story in a movie rather. You know, I
Right.
uh I felt like I was watching a video game at times specifically, and I was like, man, I would love a controller here to like try to kill this like beast that can't be killed, or like run
Yeah.
through the glass grass.
Yeah, the razor sharp dagger grass, yeah. That was kind of a really cool concept as well. But yeah, with the video game stuff, I don't think this is anything really new with blockbuster films. I think video games are really heavily influencing big movies like this. Like there's a lot of low angles to the monsters, or they're just the camera's always very low to the ground with the hero in the foreground, and you almost feel like you're experiencing the action with the hero in a way. And I definitely got that feeling when he fights the Kalisk, and it works. It feels really fluid, and you never really feel lost in the action. It was so well done, for me. And yeah, I think it's just a really great way of staging such a kind of complex action scene, really, that as long as you keep the hero very central to what's going on, then like in a video game, then you can't really go wrong. As long as you get like sort of the geography right as well in there, then yeah, it was cool. The only it's interesting with the Callis fight is that it definitely reminded me of Hercules, like when he's fighting the beast in that, and all the heads keep coming up even more. I was just like, yeah, I can definitely feel even more Disney influences right now.
Especially when he's fighting the trees, and they're all kind of chasing him,
Oh
and he
yeah,
kind of wins by almost getting them to tie together.
yeah, that was a cool, fun moment. What do you reckon about like the world itself, like the way it looks? Because some shots here like really
I
kind of cool, like the landscapes stuff. There's literally like a huge like worm circling like a mountain. That was kind of cool, and the razor grass idea was a really cool idea. And like, what was it, the sort of these giant beasts with armor, their mouths kind of open up and close so they don't get hurt from the razor grass. And that whole kind of sequence was kind of cool as well. The fact that he chops, the tree down, runs along it to kill the other tentacle monster. There was a lot going on there. But yeah, I think that scene definitely just kind of represents just sort of the propulsiveness of this film, that it's got a really great pace to it for me.
I love the look of the movie. I think it looks pretty great. I saw it. I didn't realize it was a 3D movie when I
Okay.
bought my ticket, and I ended up seeing a 3D showing. I can't remember the last time I saw a 3D movie,
Yeah.
but I thought the movie looked really great. It looked pretty sharp. Did you see it in 3D?
No, I haven't seen a film in 3D in like so long. I kind of don't like it at all, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not my preference. I think it was just the showtime I bought the tickets for and I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
realize. So I walk into the theater and they're showing previews and I'm like, wow, everything looks blurry. I was like, oh, this must be a 3D movie. So I ran and got the glasses. I I thought it looked like a really cool world. It's definitely an alien planet. At first, I was gonna rag on, like, some of the concepts, like the poison darts that explode and, like,
yeah.
all this stuff, but then I started thinking about kind of the mythology that we can piece together from watching it, and they call it the Death Planet, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, everything there is dangerous, but when you think about the aliens and other animals we encounter, they're they evolved and they're ready to live on that world. They all have like super thick hides or they have
Mm.
crazy regenerative properties. And it makes sense that those creatures would be able to live there because they're perfectly adapted to it. And it
Yeah.
makes sense why Wayland Yutani would want to
Mm,
send synths because a human could never survive there. It
no.
could not work. Everything is too dangerous, you know? So, yeah, I like that there's a world that's so dangerous and crazy that, like, the animals had to specially evolve to be able to thrive there.
Yeah, I did really enjoy kind of how different they all kind of felt. Like you have like exploding bugs.
Yeah.
That was fun, and sort of the snake. What was it? The snakes like spat out acid blood. I think acid spit.
Yes. Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah, I kind of really liked as well the fact that again, like a bit of nostalgia, I suppose, is that the film kind of arcs back to the original film where like Arnie has to like make his own weapons in the jungle to defeat the predator. And this is kind of a slightly similar thing. The fact that Deck, a predator himself, has to like adapt and use everything that he's seen along the way to defeat, you know, the Wayland's synths and Tessa at the end. Like he's got like the organic armor, he uses the snake to as like his shoulder cannon. How he got him to
Yeah.
train the snake in such a short space of time to do that, but sure, it looked really cool. You know.
Well, there's that one scene when they're running through and Thea is throwing
Yeah.
them flies and she's like, "You win more flies with honey."
Yeah.
So I guess he took that to heart and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna feed this fucking thing flies. I'm gonna turn into a gun."
Yeah. That's a lot of honey on his shoulders, I must say, though.
Yeah.
To keep him there. But yeah, it's a really kind of cool concept that they, you know, bring that idea back from the original. Yeah, I agree as well with like sort of the Wayland Yutani aspect of the film. It makes sense that they're on this planet, like researching a death planet that they're trying to bring back like really dangerous species to study. So that was kind of interesting. But also like obviously when I've watched the trailer for the first time and you see that Elle Fanning is a synth from Wayland Industries, I did sigh a bit. I was like, oh no, are we going down the route of Alien versus Predator in this movie? And I was like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Because I really don't like those AVP films. They're really bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like here, it didn't feel too overbearing. As we said, it made sense that they were there, and I was very, very pleased that like I know it probably will happen down the line that we're going to get like a new AVP movie, but I was very pleased Exomorphs didn't turn up. But yeah, it worked overall for me. But again, as I said, like when they are taking out like all these synths, it just loses a bit of bite and it lacks emotional investment. Even though like the action is really kind of creative, you know, the fact that Elle Fanning has this great action scene taking out all these synths and she's using her, you know, her upper half of her body and the lower half of her body, her legs to take out all these synths. That was pretty cool. And definitely a highlight for me was the fact that she high fives her legs at the end. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I think it worked to a certain extent, and it gives me a little bit of hope that they can make an Alien versus Predator film will potentially work, maybe.
I think an Alien vs. Predator film can work in concept. I think there's ways to do it really well, and I think this movie kind of showed how it could be done. If you have like, if you have a predator going to kill an alien queen, that could be a cool movie. You follow the predator and he's there, and you don't even need, like, this movie proved you don't necessarily need a human story. I'd be
Yeah.
cool with watching Deck trying to take one down, maybe like an alien killed his ancestor at one point
Yeah.
and he's tracking it down. So I think you could do it in a cool and compelling way. But this is a question I had. Do we know where this falls on the Alien and Predator timeline? Like, do we have a
Apparently,
guess?
I read it's like way in the future. It's super in the future, so it's not massively
Okay.
connected to a lot of the other films, to be honest. That's what I've read.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously the corporation is still around. So, like,
Mm.
I guess this is much after like Alien Resurrection, and I don't know
Yeah,
when
probably.
Romulus takes place. I still haven't seen it.
Oh, really? Alien Romulus
Yeah.
is pretty cool. I mean, I Alien is like my favorite franchise, so I'm always going to like it, but I'm very biased. But yeah, Alien Romulus is set between the first movie and Aliens, so it's like 1.5.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So very kind of similar aesthetic to those movies. Other little points for me, unfortunately another negative, but I wasn't a massive fan of like the monkey alien Bud.
Yeah.
um I get that he needs to be there to make the film emotionally work. The fact that it's the son of the Kalisk. But yeah, again, like tonally, that it just felt very, very kind of off for a Predator movie. And when it was kind of mimicking the Predator of what he was doing in that kind of sort of night scene before they're going off to bed or whatever, that was really kind of, I wasn't here for that.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, "What am I watching Mandalorian? Like, what is going on here with this ant, like this monkey copying the Predator?" I was like, "Do we really need this? Like, we're gonna watch the Predator have like a monkey sidekick and the girl." I was like, "This is too much." It was
Yeah.
really steering into the comedy, and almost none of that worked for me. It's one of my big drawbacks with the movie is just the
Mm.
existence of like so much comedy. And
Mm.
like you mentioned it before and I forgot to tag on it, but the third act, like the action just didn't feel anything. There felt like no stakes. As
Yeah.
he's going around killing all the synths, it really left me cold. It's one of the biggest faults I have with the movie overall.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely get that. I think it improves when like the Calisk is released, and then you've got like sort of Tessa in a giant mech suit. Deck is running for his life. I think it definitely picks up a little bit there, and obviously before that, it definitely is sort of relying on a bit of style over substance and trying to be as creative as they can to really like lure you in that way, and it definitely kind of it steps up a bit emotionally, I guess, a little bit when Tessa gets into the mech suit, and there's a tiny little bit more stakes, I guess, when she's taking on the Calisk, knowing what the Calisk means to Bud. And yeah, but again, it's very thin when you have no human characters, and I think that's really kind of hard to do. I think overall, it works, but it doesn't work like on a real deep level. But I mean, do you ever really like need it to be operating on a real deep level for like an action sci-fi movie? I'm not so sure, but yeah, I agree. Like stakes wise, they're never really massively there, because I'm like, if like Elle Fanning's character, Thea, if she stops working, can't say she dies, stops working, I'm never really going to shed a tear for her, I don't think. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I wouldn't cry if my toaster broke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's a tool.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. Again, I think it's fine. It was an okay watch. I'll probably never watch it again. But I think
Okay.
doing if you're doing something like this, I want to see at least one memorable, really cool thing to like take it to that next level. So it's like either surprise me with a plot point, something I didn't see coming, or have the action super, super like cool and impressive. And that third act when like that should be the coolest action in the movie kind of just
Mm,
left me cold. I really
right.
I wanted to like it more than I did, and it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly an aspect to say that it definitely gets a bit CG heavy, and there's always going to be a disconnect when you've got CGI thing fight a CGI thing. So yeah, that's always going to be an issue, I think. But I think from an acting perspective with the film, like with Elle Fanning, I did enjoy her performance overall as both characters, like Thea and Tessa. And it's interesting as well that she manages to make both of them feel very different without even doing too much. I don't think. Not even. I don't even think there's much of a difference with the makeup design either. Like Thea has like a lot of warmth to her, and like Tessa is like super cold in her performance. So I did enjoy that aspect of her acting, that they feel so different, and I don't think she's even doing much really to make that difference, which is really impressive to me.
Oh, well, one is the sun and one is the moon, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
Thea is so like, it doesn't like, did they program the robot to be that happy? It just feels almost like
Mm,
weird and unnerving. And Tessa is just so dour and sad
yeah.
and like dark. It's like, was she programmed that way? Like, why would you make one super upbeat? The robots, it doesn't matter. So
Mm,
that's interesting. I did like when we're first introduced to Tessa, she's being like repaired and she's all damaged and banged up because
mm,
the first time the synths went to get the caliphs, they all failed.
yeah. Got completely decimated. But yeah, it
Yeah.
does draw like a lot of questions of just like, why are they so different, like personality wise? Like, as we said, like this, apparently this story is like way in the future. So is there some sort of ideas around like transferring people's consciences to these synths now,
Hmm.
rather than just creating like, personalities through coding through into these synths? Is it just easier to just take people's consciousnesses into robots? I don't know, but yeah, it does feel like it asks you the question of just like, why are they so different? It can't be just because, I mean, it might be, I don't know, but it can't be just because like one is a good character and the other is a bad character, and just to make the movie work. But maybe it is. Maybe it's just as simple as that. I don't know. But
Villain, what do you want?
yeah. But yeah, I think Demetrius Schuster Kolo Matangi as Deck. Yay, I said that correctly, I think. I think he did a great job as well, portraying like sort of the right emotions with mainly his eyes. That's all, and obviously his physicality, and like that's all he's got to work with, really, with an alien character that, you've got mandibles, but you can only really use them to just like scream. But I think overall, like, I think he does a really good job of communicating what he needs to communicate for the story to work emotionally for that character. And it's mainly his eyes. And I think and through an alien character, that's really hard. It must be hard. So kudos
It's a tough
to
acting job.
Demetrius. Yeah.
It's a tough acting job. I don't envy, not being able to really talk or say any dialogue because, he's speaking gibberish essentially. He's speaking a fake language. We can't really pick up any inflection or tone.
Mm.
And really, like you said, his only acting is his eyes and his movement. It's effective. You can understand the emotions that the character has at any given moment. It's an unenviable job,
Yeah.
and he does pretty damn good. I don't know if I've ever seen him in anything. Like, I don't know what
No.
the guy looks like. In my head, he looks like a predator now. So
Yeah. I think he's a newcomer from New Zealand. I think they mainly shot a lot of the film in New Zealand. That's what was kind of great about the film as well. You can definitely feel kind of some real landscapes that they used in New Zealand, mixed in with CG, obviously, to make this world feel tangible in moments. I would say in moments, not in every scene for sure. But yeah, I think overall with this film, I think it's very enjoyable. It's a huge risk, I think, which is paying off at the moment in terms of box office numbers. So kudos to Dan Trachtenberg. I just hope this franchise stays in his hands for a while, depending on whether he still wants to make them. I don't know, because there is a fear with kind of these sort of situations in franchises and movies that people just want this one director to helm the franchise, but I'm like, they might want to do other things. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for what the future holds with Predator, because I know a lot of people were kind of pissed that Prey was just a streaming movie and not a cinema release. In a way, I am glad that Predator Badlands is in cinemas and it's not a streaming movie. But at the same time, I think, with the tone of this, there is a tonal problem for me. And I think this tone had to be established for it to be distributed in cinemas, unfortunately. So there is that caveat. But yeah, I'm excited for what the future holds, though, in general, for Predator.
I do think it's interesting because, like, when you think of the Predator franchise, that last Predator movie that came out with Shane Black, what year was that? Was that like 2016, somewhere
Something like
around
that.
there?
Yeah.
So that movie tanked. It was universally hated. I've never heard anyone say a kind thing about it.
Yeah,
So
dreadful.
that comes out, yeah, that comes out and dies, and it's almost like the Predator franchise had to earn its way back into movie theaters. So it's like it needed Prey to kind of be like, look, we can not be shit, remember? And
Yeah.
like they needed something like that to really strip it kind of really back down to build up goodwill where they could get back to a theatrical release. And now that they have a theatrical release, it's how do we tell a wide story for a big audience,
Yeah.
And that's what they tried to do.
Yeah, and at the moment, it's pretty successful. So,
I think we'll see a sequel.
yeah, definitely. All right, guys, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you again, Brian, for coming on the podcast. Great chatting to you as always. Yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Reviewing History, bandcamp.com/reviewing history, reviewing history pod. Check it out everywhere. Follow me on all social media at Brian Rupert. That's a 2-piece. Follow me on Letterboxd to rank your favorite single movie you watch, even the ones in my personal life. Thank you. Thanks, man.
That's all right. I can slow that bit down if you want in the edit.
That's fine. I always say it quick.
That's all right. Yeah, so the next episode will be on whodunit movies with a newcomer guest. So do check out the socials to see who is coming on for our last episode of the year. And then I'll be back in January with my most frequent guests from the World of Horror podcast for the first one in January, which is on robot movies. So Predator Badlands might come up. Technically, it counts. All right. Bye-bye. That's it for spoilers, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your thoughts are about this film. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.